The bell rang out sharply as James Webber stepped into the antique shop. Dust motes swirled in the golden light filtering through heavy curtains. The air smelled of aged wood and something faintly metallic. The shop was cluttered, with shelves teeming with oddities. Cracked porcelain dolls, tarnished jewelry, faded books with cracked spines. James was not there for trinkets. He was looking for something unique, something to gift his wife for their anniversary. The shopkeeper, a gaunt man with sunken eyes, emerged from the shadows behind the counter. Looking for anything in particular? The man asked in a rasping voice. A gift, James replied, glancing at the shelves. Something special. The shopkeeper smiled thinly and reached below the counter. When his hand re-emerged, it held a pocket watch. It was exquisite. Silver with intricate etchings. Its face adorned with swirling constellations instead of numbers. The second hand ticked softly, but it didn't move in a circle. It oscillated erratically. This, the shopkeeper said, his voice reverent, is no ordinary watch. It doesn't measure time. It bends it. Wind it. And you'll find yourself revisiting the moments you cherish most. James stared, skeptical but intrigued. How much? Quote, it's not for sale, but I can loan it to you. For a price. James hesitated. But the allure of revisiting their happiest memories was too tempting. What's the price? Quote, time, the shopkeeper said cryptically. You'll know when it's time to return it. James took the watch home, telling his wife, Laura, it was just an old family heirloom he'd stumbled upon. That night, curiosity got the better of him. He wound the watch and pressed the small button on its side. The room shimmered, and suddenly he was standing in the hospital room where his daughter, Emily, had been born. Laura lay on the bed, cradling the tiny bundle, her face glowing with joy. James felt tears sting his eyes as he reached out to touch them, but his hand passed through them like smoke. He could only watch. The shimmer returned, and he was back in his living room, clutching the watch. He didn't tell Laura what had happened, but he became obsessed. Night after night, he wound the watch, revisiting their wedding day, family vacations, Emily's first steps. One evening, Laura confronted him. You've been distant, she said, her voice heavy with concern. What's going on? Quote, James tried to brush her off but eventually broke down, showing her the watch and explaining what it could do. At first, she was angry, accusing him of hiding something so extraordinary. But then curiosity overcame her, and she asked to use it. Together, they began reliving their most treasured moments. But as the days passed, James noticed something unsettling. The memories grew dimmer, less vibrant, as though the life was being sucked from them. And Laura, her hair seemed to gray, her movements slowed, her laughter was muted. One morning, James woke to find the watch ticking furiously on the nightstand, the oscillations chaotic. He grabbed it and ran back to the shop. The shopkeeper was waiting, his expression somber. You've overstayed your welcome, he said. The watch demands its due. What do you mean? James shouted. My wife. What's happening to her? Quote, the shopkeeper's gaze was pitiless. Every moment you relive, you steal time from the present. The watch takes from your future to fuel the past. James tried to return the watch, but the shopkeeper shook his head. It doesn't work like that. You can't simply give it back. You must undo what you've done. James begged for an explanation, but the shopkeeper simply turned away, fading into the shadows. Desperate, James wound the watch one last time. He set it to the night he first used it. hoping to stop himself. But when he appeared in the memory, he saw his past self already winding the watch. "Stop!" James yelled. But his past self couldn't hear him. The shimmer returned, pulling him back to the present. Laura was gone. The house was empty, as though she and Emily had never existed. James returned to the antique shop, but it was no longer there. Only an empty lot overgrown with weeds. And in his pocket, the watch ticked on.